Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Beastly Eel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the season finale of The Acolyte. So there was a lot of controversy to this episode and the series as a whole. However, we're going to talk about the plot very briefly, and then we're going to be talking about what potentially could come next, and go from there. So let's get right into talking about what happened in this. So the episode starts off with Sol and Mai talking to each other about what had happened and everything else on her planet, and how Sol didn't plan on these things happening, and that Mai was basically stating to him that he should have told Osha what was going on. So during all of that, she begins to, how do I want to phrase this, force herself out of her, I guess you would say, like, handcuffs. It's like the best way to describe it is handcuffs or chains on her, whatever you want to call it. She breaks free, escapes in an escape pod, and goes back to her home planet. Not on purpose. Her and Sol go into a space battle, which is very, I don't want to phrase it. It's not really a space battle. He literally just bumped into her, and they smashed into each other. And then went back onto her home planet. So Sol begins to look for Mai on the planet. Back on the planet where Quimir and Osha are, Osha puts on the mask, who then feels the force completely surrounding her, then has a vision of the future where she sees Sol die at the hands of Mai, while Mai holds a lightsaber in her hand. And during this time, we see her powers used very similar to what her mother, Anayase, used, which basically made Quimir unable to move for a bit, and his eyes turned black. And he had to force himself to remove the mask off of her, which was not easy, obviously. So when they did, he then was like, "Oh, so you saw what was happening?" And she said, "Yes." So he explained that he needs to know where they need to go, and she explained that they were going together, and she wasn't going to tell him anything until, in fact, I don't think she's ever stated she was going to say anything to him, period, that she was just going to have them go together, and he would eventually find where they needed to go. So he's reluctant, but he's like, you know what, probably going to get a better response anyway. So the two of them fly off, and they go back to her home planet. During this time, apparently Sol had put back on his tracking device, where the the Republic finds out where Sol is. During this time, we had Vernestra, who had a meeting with a senator who heard wind of her investigating a murder that could have been potentially a Jedi. And she explains that they were working on it, and when she knew more, she would let the council know. But until then, there was nothing else that needed to be discussed, and she leaves. So she takes off with a large crew to go onto the home planet of the girls to see what's going on with Sol and everything else. Now everyone's on planet, and not quite yet the Jedi. So the Jedi have not made it there yet. However, the rest of the group is there. Sol and Quimir go into a battle together, which was incredible. We get to see Sol use incredible force skills, to the point where he actually slashes through Quimir's lightsaber, which was incredible. And during that time, we had Mai and Osha fight, and apparently Osha does know how to fight and has great, incredible skill with the Force to a certain degree as well. The two of them fight. The two of them then run off to try to see Sol, and that's when Osha uses a Force choke and kills Sol. Quimir realizes, obviously, that Osha was actually the one she saw in the vision, not her sister Mai. So he feels the presence of Vernestra and puts on his helmet and disappears. The girls run away, and we get to see how Mai escaped the first time, apparently through a tunnel in the caverns, and escaped to where the trees are. We then have the Vernestra go there, sees the dead body of Soul. Oh, I'm sorry, I did forget something very incredible here. We get to see Osha pull out Soul's lightsaber, and when she ignites it, it starts to turn red. So it comes out blue to begin with, and then slowly turns red from the corruption and death of Soul. So we see Osha turn to the dark side. And then everything else happens. So anyway, we then have Vernestra there, realizing what had happened and knowing exactly what had happened thanks to the Force, realizing that they needed to find the girls and they needed to split up immediately. The two girls are with Quimir. They explain that they're going. Mai explains that they're going to keep tracking her because they have her scent, and that's when Quimir says, "Well, we can brainwash her so she doesn't have any memory of anything, so they can't actually get any information from her." So Osha and Mai have a little heart-to-heart, and that's when Quimir uses his the Force to erase and suppress Mai's memories. Osha and Quimir leave, and that's when the Jedi get to Mai, and they arrest her, and she has no memory of what's going on. Later, she is locked up with Vernestra. Vernestra had just had a meeting with the senators, a small group of senators, explaining that apparently a fallen Jedi Soul had committed the murders, and he was no longer a problem because he was eliminated. The council was basically stating how they were going to need to have a vote on whether the Jedi need to be pursued more in-depthly, and Vernestra was very much against it. However, we did not get a confirmation of exactly what was going on at the time. Vernestra then meets with Mai, who has no memory of anything up until she was a child, and doesn't have any memory of her sister. So Vernestra then changes the tactics and explains that she needs help finding a man called Quimir, who was a former Padawan of hers, and needed to be found. During this, we also have Quimir and Osha together on their planet, looking like they're ready to commit some crimes together. Another piece that I left out, actually two pieces I left out, was we get to see Darth Plagueis, and we see Yoda. It just as cameos in this season. So right there and then, we get to see that Osha has the ability to use powers very similar to her mother, to the point where she's able to manipulate people's minds. Something we had not seen Mai able to do ever. And apparently we also find out that they're apparently at some point going to have to fuse both Mai and Osha together at some point, which will be interesting to see what happens there. We obviously have the introduction of Plagueis, which could mean that he is the master of Quimir, and Quimir is looking for an apprentice to overtake his master. However, it's unclear if that actually is his master, or if Plagueis feels a disturbance in the Force, a dark disturbance in the Force, and has nothing to do with him, wondering what's going on. We also have, obviously, Mai and Vernestra working together in the next season. And we also have Vernestra explaining to Yoda most likely what's going on. However, we also know that Vernestra lied and stated that Soul was the problem to all of this, when in actuality she left out Quimir and the twins, which is incredible to me, but at the same time, the downfall of the Jedi. There's been a lot of controversy to this. A lot of people were unhappy with Yoda and Plagueis just having cameos in it. However, we were kind of told there was going to be no big names in this, and that had major plot points in this, so it shouldn't have been all that surprising that if they were going to be in it, they were not going to have a major role. Also, a lot of people just had a problem with the way the Force was being used by the witches, and that the Jedi were, not the greatest. However, this does make sense because the Jedi are acting less and less like what we would typically think of as Jedi. They're now being considered more of a military/political stance at this moment in time. So the fact that all that's going on and people have a problem with it is a little bit of shocking to me, but people have their own opinions. However, I enjoyed it. I will say that it did make sense that Soul was defeated by Osha, because Soul didn't have the power. He had the power to take Osha out. I do believe that. However, his heart was not in it because he turned her this way. So because of that, there was nothing else he could do, and he thought, you know what? I'm just stopping the inevitable at this point. Let it just happen. And so he allows himself to die. That doesn't bother me as much. I think the big problem with me was Osha being more powerful than Mai. That's just a me thing. But that, made sense in the sense of Osha having much more anger problems than Mai, which is very much clear. And the fact that she was unable to remove her attachments. Where it seemed like Mai was able to, in a weird way, with Quimir, which I find interesting. But anyway, overall, I did like this series. It was good. I thought it definitely had some of the best fight scenes we've had in a while. I know other people thought differently, but I definitely thought this had great fight scenes. Story was good. Was not the best, I will definitely say. I think it could have done a little bit better, spaced out more. Some things felt a little rushed with the switching of sides and stuff like that. However, we never specified on how much time has passed in between episodes, so it's really tough to say whether it was quick or not. But that would be like the minor stuff for me. However, overall, like I said, I thought this series season was good. Hopefully there's another season coming out. I know a lot of people are hoping that it does not, because they did not like it. However, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. How did you like the series as a whole, and do you want to see another season? Just out of curiosity, and why? I always hate when people just put, it stank. Explain. Like, you can't just say it stinks, or you can't just say you liked it. Like, you gotta have some evidence to back it up. I understand it's your opinion, but, like, your opinion has to be based on something. Not just because it felt good. Like, realistically, I thought the fight scenes were great just because of the whims, like, how do I want to phrase it? Like, the acrobatics that were involved, and seeing things that we had not seen in a live-action Star Wars was nice. Seeing the Padawan using both lightsabers and things like that. So overall, like I said, thought it was a great season. Hoping to see more of it. Hoping to see more of Quimir and Osha, and obviously Plagueis, and potentially seeing the laser lightsaber whip in potential future projects. But for now, like I said, let me know in the comments what you thought about this series and the finale, and whether you liked it or not, and why. And as always, if you like the content you see, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night.